Hello, you're listening to another Crackplot interview, and today I'm talking to Shane Collins, an animator for Brown Bag Films in Dublin. Enjoy. What got you into animation?
What got me into animation? I suppose it was a love of films when I was younger. Films and a lot of comic books like Asterix. I was into Asterix. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was another thing I was into as a kid. I was always usually, sitting down and drawing my favorite kind of characters from cartoons I would have watched,
Yeah.
I didn't actually go for animation specifically. I didn't know I wanted to get into animation specifically when I was younger, but I did have a kind of like a desire to work in films. In a way, so any sort of like any work in kind of like special effects or anything like that. But that was kind of stuff that I was kind of like interested in. I think when I was younger,
So it was more along the lines of special effects, and rather than say camera work or
well,
instead of hand drawn stuff, you went to CGI.
Yeah, it was more like because I used to love the kind of hand drawn animations and like Watch It Down and all these kind of cartoons when I was younger, and but like it was really the sort of like I suppose it was like when I got into my kind of like my teens is when I kind of started really enjoying the kind of like the Terminators and the RoboCops, and that was really what captivated me into like, oh geez, I would really like to get into films, but when I was way younger, I had no idea what I wanted to do, obviously, so it was just kind of randomly drawing pictures and stuff. But yeah, it was more feature films and live action and effects that really sort of like that was my thing when I was younger. Yeah.
So what led you to working in Brown Bag?
Well, I was in college. I studied animation in college for 4 years for a degree there, and I did a 1-year portfolio course before that. So. But I had a tutor actually in my course. Dave Quinn was working in Brown Bag at the time, as well as teaching, and he, I used to always be, picking his brain over 3D and how do you do this, how do you do that, and stuff like that. So he seen I was really interested in it, and my 3D animation class, I was kind of that was probably my highest points that I was scoring, I suppose. And he kind of like said, here, why don't you come into Brown Bag in the studio where I work, and you can come in, you can model some props and stuff, and talk to the guys in there, Doc and Cahill and a few other people. And so yeah, he just brought me in, and I started working in there part time, I think it was, in the summer after third year. And then through fourth year, I went into fourth year and I did my degree in fourth year, and then I was able to use working in Brown Bag as part of my fourth year practical work, so that was great, and I ended up making a short film called Trouble in Paradise in third year, and I was able to get a lot of insights and technical knowledge from some of the guys working in Brown Bag on how to rig up characters in 3D, how to light things and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of a leg up there, and they helped me out. But that was basically when I finished college. I went into Brown Bag, straight into Brown Bag, and I've kind of been there ever since, 12 years ago.
So you mentioned there Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah.
How long does it take to make a short piece like that in CGI?
Well, that was the original Trouble in Paradise was, I think it was about 5 minutes long, and I kind of made that mostly on my own at home. So, and that took most of the working year, and some of my time, when we had holidays or midterm breaks and stuff, I was always working on it. So, on my own, for that 5-minute film with one character and one set in 3D, it took me about 8 months or something, 9 months or whatever it was. But when you have a team of people working on stuff, that time actually comes down significantly. So you can kind of yeah. So obviously, the more people you have working on the film, the quicker it goes. It's all about the machine, and having a team of people. It's pretty much a team effort.
So being a good team player is one of the best traits to have when you're in that line of work.
Oh yeah. It's like, I suppose over the years now of me working in Brown Bag, I've really sort of like started to understand about, when you start off in animation, there's a lot of everyone's an individual coming out of college, and they've all honed in on their own kind of like little thing that they do. Like they might be illustrators or concept artists or modelers or animators, but the more time you spend in 3D and working in the industry, you all realize that, like, geez, my stuff would be nothing without their stuff, and their stuff would be nothing without my stuff, and so you just really sort of start understanding the team dynamic, especially when you start directing stuff as well, as you really understand it, because you start realizing, well, I'm not actually creating any of this artwork, it's everyone else, and it's just you're kind of like, you're just organizing, making sure that things are syncing up in the right way, but you really realize that, like, it's the team that make a project work.
And so working with the team is one aspect of things, but there's also the costs involved. I mean, I remember, like, what was it, 10 years ago, maybe more, that Crazy Frog first came out, right, and people were saying, "Oh my God, this cost over €1 million to make," and stuff like that. Do you think that's a bit of a barrier to people getting involved in CGI, or from little projects springing up here and there?
What you mean in terms of investors getting involved in 3D?
Costs or resources and stuff like that. Yeah, if people even experimenting in 3D as opposed to
it would be a lot more costly now creating 3D than it would be 2D now. It all depends as well on how much pre-production you do. Obviously, if you're making a 2D film, you could spend a lot of money on like concept work and other concept artist work that could actually take up a lot of time. But generally, when you go into production, 2D production doesn't have as many technical levels as a 3D production would do. So costs would be pretty high for 3D animation. And I'd imagine if you can come up with a popular idea that works in 2D, your profit margins, I'd imagine, would be a lot higher than it would be on a 3D production, because there's a lot more overhead as 3D production.
What do you think that 3D can bring to a project that 2D just can't?
I think 3D, like, they both have their places, and I think 3D kind of brings a sort of like it brings a certain dimension to a project, where 2D, as free as it is, sometimes you might go for the option of, you might opt for a 3D to use 3D because you want to get a bit more depth, and you want to create that sort of like, physical world that you can kind of walk around, I suppose, So I don't like it. It really depends. Like we in Brown Bag, where I work, it's like the majority of projects are 3D, and there's been most of the projects have actually derived from 2D illustrative books and that. I wouldn't choose one over the other now. There's a lot of 2D work that is amazing as well. So it just depends on the type of the style of the show, I suppose, and what you think would work best for it. Yeah.
Moving on to something else here. I know that Trouble in Paradise gained around, what was it, like 7 million views on YouTube now or something?
Yeah, I think it's 7. It's just over 7 million now. Yeah.
Yeah. Does being part of a well-known company like Brown Bag help that exposure?
For Trouble in Paradise, the original. It was actually more of a sort of like a viral thing that went. It just went viral on its own, because I just posted that up myself on my own YouTube channel after I finished college, and it just gained momentum. And for some reason, people loved it. And I think I got a lot of comments there about, like, there's a lot of parents saying, thanks for keeping my kid quiet while I fed them, because it's just this little sort of like crab with these googly eyes just moving around, and there's no talking or anything like that. And it's a very sort of like calm and serene environment that he's in, and I think it kind of like kids get a bit mesmerized by that,
Like, what were your main goals when you're making it? Like, what were you trying to get at? What was the main?
What was the drive behind the idea?
What was the drive behind it?
I suppose the drive behind it was, I wanted to, I really like the kind of scrap character from Ice Age, and I think Finding Nemo would come out. I think it came out through the process of me coming up with the idea. But generally, I wanted to. I grew up in Fiji, so like for about 13 years of my life. So that was tropical environment and paradise islands and coconut trees and stuff like that. That was all part of my life for a long time, and that was all. I wanted to do something with that, and I wanted to do something quirky with a little character and throw them around a stage and have a nice little sort of like twist at the end of the story. So I suppose it's just kind of naturally that was what I geared towards,
And apart from Trouble in Paradise, I'm going on and on about it, but you've been involved in a couple of other really successful projects. Like you're the lead animator on Granny O'Grim's Sleeping Beauty. I mean, that was featured in the Academy Awards.
That was,
yeah. What was that like as an experience for you?
Well, working on Granny O'Grim was great because Nicky Phelan was the director for that short film, and he's great to work with. He's a real creative guy, and real up for it. Really includes everyone in the project. And we had at that stage we had to kind of transfer his kind of 2D ideas into 3D, and he's got real quirky character design. So it was a challenge, to try and create these kind of like weird looking hairdos and stuff. But it was a cool film to work on, and we all ended up it basically took everyone by shock when it was like, oh, it's been shortlisted for an Oscar. And so everyone's going around saying this, going like, "What's going on here?" And then all of a sudden, it was nominated, and everyone's like, ended up, I think Cahill, the owner of Brown Bag, and Doc called for a half day, and we all went down to the pub and celebrated, and it was like drinks are on us, So it was great fun, and we all there was a big bunch of us that ended up going over to LA for the Oscars. There was a couple of people that actually went to the Oscars, but there was a big squad of us, loads of people from Brown Bag and family and friends that went over just to sort of go over and celebrate and enjoy LA and the Oscars and the whole buzz, So it was unforgettable, really. It was great.
Are things like that? Do they make your work feel? What am I looking to say here?
Yeah. Well, you mean did they kind of like drive me to kind of like pursue it even more, and that is it?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think they say like there's if you're kind of in the animation industry because you want to win awards, I suppose you're not really kind of like on a on a good path.
Yeah.
You can't really you never really know what's going to win awards and what's going to be chosen. You've got to really just work in animation because you love to just create stuff and entertain people and mostly entertain yourself, really. Like I think most of the people that are really into the industry and stay in the industry a long time is because they kind of like they just laugh at the stuff themselves, so it's not trying to sort of like create something that it's not really I suppose you don't look at it in terms of like trying to create something purely for a financial gain. You want to sort of like create something that's entertaining and that you would want to watch yourself, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You take some pride in your work, like.
Yeah.
What are you working on next?
At the moment, I'm working on I've just after finishing up on a show called Henry Huggle Monster Season 2. So I was on the first season of that, and that was directed by Norton Virgin. He directed the Rugrats, so it was great working with him. He's brought a lot of experience and skills, and I kind of like I learned a lot from him over the couple of years now that I've worked with him. So I'm actually moving on to another show now called Stinky and Dirty, which is an Amazon show for for Amazon. So they're going to be it's their show, they're financing it, and we're making it in here in Brown Bag. So that's my next venture. So the Stinky and Dirty is about a stinky rubbish truck and a dirty JCB, and the two of them are buddies, and they go around and they kind of solve problems and get themselves in all sorts of mess.
Yeah. Okay. That's nice.
Yeah.
Because I have like a 4-year-old nephew, and I know he will love it.
Oh right, yeah. Well, it's all the vehicle thing is all really big in these days.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah, I think after cars and planes and stuff like that, kids have really sort of like got back into the whole vehicle thing. I think Thomas the Tank Engine from years ago kind of like, characters as vehicles kind of like took a little bit of a backstage for a while when all the kind of CG came in, and it was all about creating kind of these organic characters. But now it's
now it seems
we want to see cars and vehicles being silly now again.
Now it seems to be going. It always seems to gravitate back to that.
Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway, Shane, thanks so much for coming on and talking to me today.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
A big thanks to Shane Collins from Brown Bag Films there for coming on, and for you for listening to this interview. If you liked it, don't be afraid to give it a like or an upvote. Even drop in a comment if you want, and if you'd like to hear more, you can even subscribe. I've been Ryan McBride. Stay tuned for more from Crackpot.